Welcome to Life in Biology. I'm Dr. Joel Graff, and this is episode number 6. We're going to be talking about cancer prevention today. About 20 years ago, when my sister was about 5, she started having some vision problems, and they came to find out that she had a growth of some sort, a tumor maybe, pushing on an optic nerve, and it was causing the vision problems. So she had treatment, had chemo, had a stent. She was a real trooper through it all. And the Make-A-Wish Foundation found out about Courtney's story, and they wanted to do something for her. So they asked Courtney what her wish would be, and she wanted a playhouse. So some volunteers got together and they built just this awesome playhouse, and some of the volunteers must be woodworkers because they did a good job on it. Anyway, fast forward to today. I watch a lot of woodworking channels on YouTube, and that's part of what's inspired me to make a science channel. Anyway, one of those woodworkers is doing a fundraiser for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And the fundraiser, there's a challenge. That is to make an airplane out of wood or plastic or styrofoam. You can make whatever you want. Make an airplane. And if you send a picture to this guy's site, it's called Maker's Care. The guy that's running it is named Steve Ramsey. The idea is, if you send him a picture, he'll donate $5 to Make-A-Wish, and if you make an airplane, he's promised to donate $10 to Make-A-Wish. This guy has a woodworking channel called Woodworking for Mere Mortals, and I'll try to have a link in the show notes below too, so you can go to that. But the idea is to have woodworking projects that are easy enough that are approachable for just everyday people that are thinking about picking up the hobby of woodworking. Anyway, so I came up with an idea of a simple woodworking project to make an airplane, and I got a plunge router for my birthday not too long ago, and I decided to try working on my freehand skills. So I just drew a very basic airplane, and then I wrote my sister's name on it, and I just followed the lines. Once I had gone through the steps of routing out the airplane, I hit it with white paint along all the routed out parts, and then I came in with gray, blue, and green paint at different angles and in different areas to be clouds, and the airplane's supposed to be green. Hopefully you can see that okay. But anyway, that's it for the little side story on making an airplane. But I wanted to talk a little bit about cancer. Now, cancer occurs when a cell starts to replicate itself and it doesn't know to stop replicating. So normally when a cell decides to replicate, it stops and makes sure everything is okay every once in a while. And there's one checkpoint, is what it's called, in the cell cycle, right before the cell decides to double up all of its DNA, so that when it does split, the new cells each get an equal amount, or get a copy of the original DNA. And so at this checkpoint, the cell has some quality control mechanisms built in to look for whether or not everything is okay with the genome. And there are two pretty important tumor suppressor proteins that are involved in this checkpoint. One is called P53, the other is called RB. It's short for retinoblastoma. P53 has a pretty boring name, but sometimes people call it the guardian of the genome. Anyway, there's a virus that can cause cancer, and it's called human papillomavirus. And this virus, it has two different proteins. One's called E6 and one's called E7. E6 attacks P53, and so you lose that guardian of your genome. And the other protein, E7, it attacks the RB gene. So you lose these two key important checkpoint regulators, and the cell no longer stops and says, is everything okay? Should I keep replicating? So by losing those genes, the cells will replicate like crazy, and then they can start to acquire more mutations and become cancerous. And so wouldn't it be great if we could prevent this human papillomavirus from causing cancer? Well, actually we can. There's a vaccine to prevent human papillomavirus. And when I went to my first science conference back in the summer of 2003, there was a guy that was talking about this new vaccine that had just been approved by the FDA, and he went through all the data, how safe this vaccine was, how many cancers they're going to be able to prevent from these vaccines, and after that talk was done, there was just kind of this upbeat feeling in the crowd, and I remember that very clearly, and it made a big impression on me. So the human papillomavirus vaccines, there's actually 2 of them out there. They have great safety records, yet somehow there's this anti-vaccine movement that is suggesting that these vaccines are not safe. And a couple of the arguments they throw out are, one, they say that they're not safe, but that's not true. There's been many safety studies, and these vaccines don't cause any adverse effects. And then another thing that the anti-vaccine movement complains about is that they say, well, there's lots and lots of different human papillomaviruses, and these vaccines, they only block 4, or they only block 2 of the human papillomaviruses. Well, there's a reason why these vaccines were made just to block a couple of the human papillomaviruses. And the ones that they block are the ones that cause the majority of cervical cancer. So what's the point of worrying about blocking all these other ones that aren't going to cause cancer when your goal is to stop cancer? And then the final argument is that giving these vaccines might make your kid be more promiscuous. Because the thing about these vaccines is human papillomavirus is a sexually transmitted disease, and if you contract the virus, the vaccine won't do any good for you. You need the vaccine before you get the virus. And so the idea would be that vaccination of kids, males and females, even though we're mostly talking cervical cancer, this can also stop penile cancer as well, and a few other types of cancers. Anyway, there are plenty of other things that your kid's going to be worried about when it comes to having sex as a kid, and you know, I don't remember as a kid worrying about cervical cancer, and I don't think taking that off the table is going to turn kids into being sexually active, but you will prevent your kid from getting this deadly cancer. So anyway, that's my stump speech for today, and a little bit of an explanation of what cancer is. I hope you like. I'll see you soon.